Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Rhino Reactor. This is from a company out of Detroit. The Rhino company is out of Detroit, and they're claiming USA made on this guy, which, if that's the case, that's pretty cool. All I have to go off is the website and, you know, what it lists in specs under, like, regular retailer information. It says USA made, so that's all I know. We're gonna just talk about the knife moving forward. Thanks so much to Joram for sending this in for me to take a look at. I appreciate that. And thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me. There's a link for my Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Okay, let's go ahead and get a measurement of the reactor. By the way, the whole glow rhino thing, you know, when I unboxed this, I was like, oh, let me charge up this glow thing right here. That's pretty cool. This is a piece of tritium, so it does not need to be charged up in order for it to glow. It's just going to glow all the time. Tritium is not dangerous. It's not. People always question back and forth, but it's irradiated. It's not dangerous. There's not enough, right? You're gonna be fine. So it's pretty cool. If you were to drop this in the dark, right? If it's pitch black, you should be able to find it with there being tritium on either side of it. I've noticed on their website they offer tritium insertion OEM services. I don't know what that means. If it means I can add tritium to another EDC item. They have a lot of stuff like, you know, glowing keychains, and they've got like pry bars and other things that they sell that have tritium inserts. So the tritium I've found to be very useful. I've actually got it on my flashlight on my keychain, and it's nice when I'm fumbling around trying to find my key for my door, right? If I can find my flashlight, then I can find my key, right? And there's tritium on the flashlight, so I can always find it. So I find it really beneficial. Anyways, did we do the measurement? No, I don't think we did. Overall length of the reactor coming in at 6.75 inches. Blade length is coming in at under 3 inches, which is great for a lot of people who have to deal with crappy laws. And the cutting edge is about 2.75. We're just going to do a couple of size comparisons today, just kind of move it along here. Up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. You can see it's a lot closer to the size of the Rat 2 and very, very similar, if not identical, in overall cutting edge. So there you go. How about up against the Spyderco Para 3? Once again, much closer. It actually has a bit more cutting edge than the Spyderco Para 3, if you were wondering. And last but not least, the Benchmade Bug Out. The Bug Out is a little bit bigger with a little more cutting edge. How about carry profile? Action on this guy is pretty good. It's not fall shut, but it is nice and snappy, and it's consistent and smooth. The thickness here, yeah, we're quite a bit, not crazy, but quite a bit thicker than the Spyderco Para 3. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. You can see here it's nowhere near as long or as tall. It should be a pretty friendly item to carry. On the inside of this titanium, you can see here that it has been milled out for weight reduction. So weight on this guy. By the way, we are looking at titanium and S35 VN. The blade steel. 2.43 ounces. I'm going to say that's pretty darn good ratios. A lot of people are going to be happy with that. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness. Got my calipers here. To me, that looks like about 130 thousandths. Let's find out. A little bit less, 125 thousandths. That's fine, no big deal there. Kind of probably what people expect. Hardware check. Get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about my tools. Let's go with T8 for the pivot. Yep. And T6 for everything else. Not a big deal. It's kind of a bummer. Wish it was all T6. But it's not. So no big deal. Just make sure you've got quality tools and a place to put your bits. There are a lot of things about this knife that make me think, you know, it's probably a combination of foreign and domestic parts, but ultimately made in the United States, which is the way that it is with a lot of our, I'm not going to name names, but a lot of companies that are in the same price range, right? That is the case. If you know, if you're under the impression that you can get a U.S. pocket knife for about $100 and every last little tiny thing on that knife is 100% made in the United States, you're kidding yourself. So this is most likely, this would be my guess, and it's just because I have nothing else to go on the website. I could be wrong. My guess is it's U.S. made, but foreign and domestic parts. So don't work for them. Don't know that factually. That's just, you know, it's just a guess. And you know, it's just like looking at the pocket clip and the pivot and the hardware and just feeling, you know, the feeling of it, things like that. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the knife itself, because I think we've got pretty much everything else out of the way. This is pretty straightforward. It feels like a lot of stuff that I have handled ergonomically. It's not perfect, right? The pocket clip kind of feels obtrusive. This area right here is a bit cramped for my hand, and the flipper tab, right, when I'm getting all 4 fingers in there, it kind of pushes against my finger, but it's okay, right? This is going to be a light-duty EDC knife, so those areas don't necessarily need to be perfect. Edges are nicely chamfered. This looks like, you know, just sort of a light tumbling. Everything looks pretty good. In fact, fit and finish on every part of the knife except the tritium inserts is really good. Everything else is great, but this tritium insert you can see here is a bit wonky donkey. Also, the piece, right, it's not laid perfectly into the titanium. It's kind of cockeyed. This side is sticking up just a little bit. There's a little bit of a meh right there. This side, it's pretty straight, but again, we have, oh, it's kind of loosey-goosey over here on this side. I'd kind of like for that to be, you know, considering this is still a pretty expensive knife, and that's definitely, you know, that piece is like, because, listen, outside of that, this is a knife that is not different in hardly any way than anything we have seen before. Without the tritium thing, it's a much larger rectangle of tritium than we normally see. We usually see the little vials, right? Outside of that, I've seen this knife about 100 times before. Titanium frame lock running on bearings using S35EN, and it's got a flat ground blade, right? I've seen it. So it's like, I'd like for that part to be, you know, to be essentially perfect. That's the part that that's why people are going to buy this, right? Because outside of that, it's just, well, I've seen that before. There's a little Glow Rhino logo thing there. It's not bad. It's not really hurting anything. I don't think it needs to say Glow Rhino on the blade. That feels kind of unnecessary, and the font is really boring, and it makes it look cheap. Then it says S35EN 21-26460-03E. Definitely don't like that. That just really bothers me, this code that's on the blade. However, the blade itself is, as you might guess, really functional. It is fully flat ground and gets reasonably thin down here. It also has a nice thin tip, so puncture test going to be good. S35EN. Does that bother you on that pricey of a knife? No, it doesn't. Doesn't bother me at all. But you can get S35EN on knives that cost under $100. I've seen knives in 20 CV cost less than $100. So stop throwing that meaningless argument at me. That is just more proof. We all put way too much stock in the materials themselves. It's the cost of taking those materials and creating a knife. It's the work that goes into that, not the materials themselves, right? S35EN is a fantastic composition, very balanced, good edge retention, great toughness, good corrosion resistance, and it's pretty darn easy to sharpen, even when it's heat treated, you know, pretty high. If it's Rockwell hardness is up there. So S35EN doesn't bother me. Let's see here. Yeah, so anyways, back here we've got a little bit of a titanium backspacer with a lanyard loop thing, which is fine. I don't mind when they do it this way because it's completely and totally out of the way of the thing that's much more important, and that's the pocket clip. And the pocket clip carries relatively deep. In fact, it's pretty much perfect. I don't have a problem with that at all. We have one of these kind of down, and then it's kind of, you know, kind of how Spyderco does it. It's okay. It's just on this size of knife, it needs to be shorter. The bug out, that is a larger knife, has a way smaller pocket clip, and this thing has been hailed repeatedly as, wow, it's so great, and that tiny pocket clip works so well, and yet people who come out with new, and I don't know how long the Glow Rhino has been around, but I'm just taking an opportunity to rant. People who come out with new designs are like, yeah, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a smaller pocket knife with a gigantic full-size clip and hope that that works out. The smaller it is, right, the smaller the handle, the smaller the clip needs to be. The reason that this works is because, you know, that clip divot is falling into this portion of your hand. We don't want it here. We want it back here. In fact, that's the case with all clips, right? If you have a larger knife, you can have a larger clip because it doesn't land in the same spot on your hand when you're choking up on it. You want that pocket clip to hit you back here so that when you're squeezing on it and you're working with it, right, in that area that's rubbing into this part of your hand much more than back here, right, it doesn't have a pocket clip bill that's attacking you. In this case, not likely you're going to use this thing super hard, but if you do, guess where that bill is? About right here. So, as far as it holding it to your pants, it's fine. But if you really do have to use this thing for, I'd say even 10 minutes, a clip like this, even though it is flat right here, is still going to bother you after a bit. I'm probably going a little bit too overboard with the clip. It does work. In and out of the pocket, it's fine. I wish the bill wasn't flat. I wish it was just continuous rise, because this, you have to fight pocket seams sometimes, but it's okay, right? There is a steel lock bar insert doubling as the over travel stop, so that's good. Lockup percentage, it looks really, come on now. I get it. I'm annoyed with, I'm just as annoyed as you guys are with the camera shaking, believe me. Back here, if we can see it, it appears to be locking up at 65, 70%, something like that, which is fine. No, nope, I'm sorry. What the heck was I feeling there? Nothing. Okay. I don't know what it was weird. I must have slipped just a little bit with my finger and assumed that it was rocking, but nope, it's fine. There's the stop pin right there. A little tiny bit of shouldering, so that's fine. It's definitely running on bearings if I didn't mention that before. Consistent, nice detent, perfect centering. No detent lash. Do we have pivot lash? Yeah, it does have a little bit of pivot lash. That's what I was feeling. Hear that? So what that means is the hole that, you know, the pivot goes through in the blade, the hole in the blade is just a little bit tiny bit, that was redundant, it's a bit bigger than the pivot barrel. So does that harm it functionally? No, but it does, you know, it's like, it makes you question exactly how well the other parts are machined. It's very possible that it's just the pivot barrel and just on this knife, because, you know, I've handled, like, for example, my Ontario Rat here. This one has a little bit of pivot lash. These are much cheaper knives. And this little Ontario Rat 2 has no pivot lash whatsoever. And I also bought another one of these that I've got in my truck, and it has no pivot lash at all. I have another example. I had another example of two knives that I had that were oh yeah, Spyderco PM2. This guy. I've got two of them here. This guy has no pivot lash. Mine, the one that I've had forever, has just a teeny tiny little bit. I can't even get it to go right. So it might be the case. Maybe not. What's the price on this? Depending on where you look, I think it's $200 to $225. This is okay. Without the tritium, it's super boring. If it really is, if they really are machining a lot of this stuff, like, okay, if the pocket clip and the screws and the pivot and all the hardware come from somewhere else and they are machining, you know, the blades and the scales, and then they're putting them together in the United States, okay, I have no idea, right? You know, it's like, I get that. But if it's just, you know, if it's like everything's made somewhere else and we're just putting it together, I don't know. All I can do is, I just have no idea. So if that's the case, okay, I get it, because USA manufacturing, right? USA manufacturing is expensive. The build itself is kind of boring. The tritium thing is kind of cool, but if they're going to do that, it's got to be laid in perfectly. 200 to 225. I don't know. This isn't really my favorite thing in the whole world. It's neat. I think it's got potential. I'd like to see, you know, if they do different designs, what they do in the future. Some of their other stuff looks kind of interesting. But I am definitely a big supporter of U.S. manufacturing. So if that is the case, then I'm definitely rooting for them. I'd like to see other things. This, it's not bad. It's just not like, wow, you know what I mean? Like it's okay. I just want to see what else they can do. So that's my thoughts on that. That's going to be pretty much it. Thanks to Joram for sending this in for me to take a look at. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.